বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির পর আমরা আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের শেষ অংশে পৌঁছে গেছি। আমরা কথা বলছি ব্রেক্সিট নিয়ে। এই অংশে আমরা কথা বলতে চাই ইম্প্যাক্ট অফ ব্রেক্সিট, বাট আই এম অলসো মাইন্ডফুল যে ইম্প্যাক্ট অফ ব্রেক্সিট কুড সাউন্ড so devastating that we have to also have some sort of assurance or reassurance that actually we have some hope for the future, because we do not want to be so doom and gloom that United Kingdom is at the verge of a breakdown situation. So shuru korte chai Barrister Anwar Babul Mia, in terms of your party perspective, at the conference today, your leader was saying that there is a possibility that there could be a second referendum on the deal. Okay, so clarify for us, for the public, that what exactly does that mean? So are we going to, if there's a second referendum, if you're successful in the parliament to get a second referendum, will we be actually voting on the existing deal that Conservative Party is putting forward, or you're going to put something new for people to consider? What exactly does that mean for us?
Well, it depends on what's negotiated. If we're signed up to something, then that, of course, is what will be on the table. If, for example, nothing's been signed, sealed and delivered, then, of course, if we have a proposal which is of quality, not quantity, if we have a proposal, then, of course, that's what's going to be put before the people for them to decide, not on the basis of lies and misinformation, concealment and downright deceit, which is what we had on the previous occasion, but on the basis of what is actually likely to take place on the evidence. Because, quite frankly, if you have a contract, if you're being represented that what you're buying is X, and if it then transpires that what you've bought is Y, you have every entitlement to repudiate the contract, to cancel the contract, and put yourself in the position that you would have been had that contract not taken place. So what we're simply saying is that that option for the people is still left on the table, and so the people will ultimately decide what is in the best interest.
As Anwar Bhai said, that this referendum issue was a national issue, okay?
Right.
So rather than a political issue as such. So do you believe Labour Party has done its or played its role in terms of contributing constructively towards a national issue and rising above all those political aspects?
I mean, it's a nonsense proposition. What on earth is being said? The reality is that the Labour Party is holding the Conservative Party to account. That is all that it is mandated to do. It is not in power. It is required to observe and point out what it believes the Conservative Party is doing wrong. We don't.
So you actually, your party sat down for 27 months when Conservative Party is doing this, allegedly this mess or this shamble deals, and your party didn't feel the need to raise the voice or bring it to public, saying this is what they're doing is shamble, and we have to raise.
Well, first of all, the shambles did not need to be flagged up by us, even though we did flag it up, because the Conservative Party were imploding, and they were doing quite a good job of imploding themselves. Thank you very much. So let them destroy themselves, because that's precisely what they've done. We don't need to say that they're in a mess, because their own party is doing that themselves. But what we have done is said that what we believe to be in the best interests of this country.
So knowing that actually the future, the economic future, the trade future of Great Britain is going to be significantly impaired if we do not have a great deal or good deal or a soft deal, your party did not do much. Do you accept that?
No, not at all. Again, I think, with all due respect, I don't think you understand what Brexit is about. And no, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't ask me that question. Because in terms of the concepts that are being debated, the most important one of which is the customs union and the single market. In addition to that, you have the bolt-on of freedom of movement. These, including the question of the Northern Ireland and Ireland border, the Irish border, these are so fundamental in terms of negotiation matters that these need to be dealt with and negotiated with the European Union. The European Union are negotiating very hard, And unfortunately, in the Conservative Party, you have a rank and file of obstruction which is preventing Theresa May from being on course. Whether she's on course for a soft Brexit or whatever Brexit she thinks she's on, unfortunately, her boat is being rocked. And that is why what they're doing is unstable. Rather than being strong and stable, it's very wishy-washy. What the Labour Party is doing is putting forward its alternative proposal and saying, this is what we need to be doing. But of course, it's the Conservative Party, it is Theresa May, who is negotiating. We are not on the table negotiating. All we can do is say, this is what we believe is in the best interest of the nation, and nothing more. We can't do anything
We don't
more.
have much time left because...
okay, we'll come back. Washim bhai, what's your observation on that in terms of the impact?
Impact, I recall my son as a consultant, he told me once, whatever the impact we are going to say, economy is like air. You cannot push and change the direction. What happened, we all agreed in one subject that we need a good deal. If it's not a good deal, then it's a serious economic repercussion, it will happen. Like one scenarios, as I mentioned earlier.
We know that we need a good deal. Any negotiations, obviously, if I'm in the negotiating table, I would like to have a good deal for my benefit, surely. But whether I'm going to get a good deal or not, that depends what I'm proposing, okay, what I'm putting forward. So in terms of impact for Great Britain, what are your concerns in terms of the bullet point?
First one, in the day of the Brexit, London will lose 10,500 employees from the financial institution.
So next year, 2019?
Yes. This is because all the core, most of the London still is the international financial hub. That will be no longer, because due to uncertainty, skilled people, they will go away.
Number of companies will
go.
leave.
House price, as the Bank of England chairman already says, may go up to 35% down. Disruption will be from air traffic system, mobile roaming, travels, your passports, your driving license may be not recognized in outside EU. So name it. All the disruption will come together. But most important, the British economy, we might lose 10% of their economy within 5 years.
Thank you. Sanar bhai.
I think the impact will be the pound will decrease in value by another third. It may be that we get less than $1 for a pound, which is going to be devastating, because a lot of stuff that we buy in, things like petroleum, things like commodities, are all priced in dollars. That means everything on the forecourt, everything on the shelves are going to cost more. House prices will plummet. And again, I come back to this one thing. We've played politics over these last 27 months. Labour Party MPs have been paid money for doing nothing. And that is such a shame. They could have given alternative, positive suggestions which could have helped the government. They don't have to vote politically. They could have supported Theresa May, who is our Prime Minister, in doing a better job than she's done. But I think the best thing on the table is the Chequers deal. If we can succeed with that Chequers deal, that will sustain most of what we need without paying the huge premiums that we pay for membership of the European Union. And then we can build on that.
So if Labour Party is successful in getting a second referendum on the deal, are we going to be voting actually on the Chequers deal? Because if you're saying that's the best deal we can have.
I think, well, there is no other alternative. If the Labour Party put forward an alternative...
Yeah, but they're putting forward a quality alternative, according to Mr. Babul Miah.
There is, if you have a look at what they are suggesting, that could have been cut and pasted better by my 19-year-old son than what they have done as a political party. But again, I'm not against Labour. I'm just saying that they haven't done work enough for the national interest that they should have done. But the real impact will be on our community. The immigrant population will feel
the heat
of Brexit within 5 to 10 years.
Why will we be feeling it worse?
Because as soon as people start losing jobs, as soon as property values start going down,
cost will
as soon as prices start increasing on the shelves.
And the restaurant industry?
Well, I mean, again, people go out and eat because they've got the ability to do that. When they haven't, then again, the restaurant industry will suffer.
Yeah.
But the curry industry is less important in this bigger picture than the immigrants that are more visible, the colored immigrants, because they will be pointed at and said, it's all your fault that this country is where it is now. And again, if you don't believe that, look at what's happening in places like Greece. Look at what's happening in places like even Bulgaria, even Hungary, in terms of immigrants and how forceful they are against immigrants, even on humanitarian grounds. What I'm saying is that we've still got time in order to make a better job of this. This is not a game. This is real. This will affect us, and this will affect us on the 29th of March, 2019. And unless we pull our socks up and start working for the national interest, I think we'll all suffer.
Hassan Bhai.
Well, thank you, Umrapa. I think you do understand Brexit.
I do. I didn't want to go into debate with him too much.
No, that's fine. And I agree with Sanwar Bhai that the Chequers deal is the basis to actually have the discussion and negotiation. Yes, there'll be disagreements even within my party, but if there are disagreements, if there are alternate proposals, then they should be based on what is already there, the foundation. In terms of the impact, well, before I come on to the impact, just to answer Babul Bhai, I was listening to you for 5 minutes, and you were criticising the Conservative Party, and it's a reflection of the Labour conference where it's just dissing Theresa May and the Conservative Party without putting forward an alternative proposal, okay, and that is what is to be expected, I think. But enough of the politics. In terms of the impact, the buyer here painted out sort of negative impacts, and I just a few minutes ago gave some examples of positive impacts that's happening. And I think it's an opportunity to trade with non-Europe and non-European countries. We haven't stopped trade with Europe, by the way. There will be a facilitated customs agreement where there'll be free trade. So that's not going to stop. That will actually continue.
But what's going to happen in the interim, though? Because there's going, whilst you do those negotiations, what's going to happen with the trade?
It's going to take 20 years to sort ourselves out. We will suffer within that
We're still
time.
going to trade.
We will.
Price will be high.
Yeah. But another impact, and this I think, at the outset I mentioned about the 6 tests that Labour had put forward. I said we can tick all of those. But I'll just deal with the 6th one, which is, does it deliver for all regions and nations of the UK? And this will partly answer your question about the impact as well. One of the impact that's going to come out of this is that the structural investment fund is going to be replaced by the shared prosperity fund. Okay, so the difference here is that it's going to be for the whole of the UK, regenerating towns and cities. But there is a caveat here. There's a criteria where inequalities, the gaps have to be closed. Inequalities have to be addressed. So that's a positive impact.
Okay. Quickly, Babul Bhai, in terms of immigration, I would like to come back on that, because I'm sure people would also, people in this country especially who have come from EU, what we understand, actually I forgot what I was going to ask, but in terms of the immigration concerns, number of EU laws have actually protected especially workers, number of human rights issues. So what will happen when we come out of EU?
Well,
are we still going to be protected by all those EU laws?
Well, one thing I must say in defense of the Prime Minister is that she has confirmed that the workers' directives and all the regulations and rules that have been engaged with and we've signed up to, so to speak, they're going to remain. So they're not going to be diluted. They're going to remain. The Prime Minister has said that. What I can assure you is that if the Labour Party was to gain be in government, which I think will be sooner than we think, than some people think, what's going to happen is that not only will we retain those workers' directives and protections and so forth of the European Union, but we will enhance them, because workers' rights are so fundamental and so important, and those are going to remain. But on the wider immigration issue, if I can just develop that slightly and labour it, the fact is that in terms of immigration, certainly for our respected viewers, the viewers of ATN Bangla, nothing that that this Brexit situation will actually nothing that will happen as a result of these negotiations is going to materially affect, in my view, the immigration situation in terms of non-EU migrants. The Conservative government have suggested that they might make the rules and regulations slightly more liberal, slightly more relaxed in terms of immigration from non-EU countries such as the Asian continent and so forth, subcontinent. I'm not entirely sure whether that's going to happen. It's certainly going to be welcome. We know that our business colleagues need recruitment from that part of the world because it's in a crisis at the moment and it is in dire need. So hopefully that's going to be widened and relaxed. But I'm not holding my breath because the Conservative Party haven't traditionally been known to be friends of migrants. And therefore, I don't think our viewers should get too excited just yet.
Okay, thank you. Bashir bhai, just your concluding remarks in terms of, we don't want to finish it in a very doom and gloom position, although possibly our future is not orange. But how do you see, what should we be mindful of from now till March 2019?
Well, I just wanted to remind my politician colleagues that today is
because they will keep on fighting.
That today the labor law, it was actually inspired by the European law. Today the minimum wages in this country, it was inspired by the European law, because a country like in Holland, minimum law was introduced 25 years ago. So there is so many things to remain with your neighbors like this. But I believe that it's not end of the world. Even we have mentioned so many repercussion and dire consequences about the British economy, but it's not end of the world. It will take 5 to 8 to 10 years to recover from whatever.
Do you believe that there should be a second referendum available to public
in relation to comment
because on the Chequers
I think
deal?
because Chequers is already rejected by you, there is no option. My politician brothers can say.
So you believe there is no point of having a second referendum on the deal?
On the deal, I think they should go back and have the referendum again, that do you want it to really go. Now people know what is the consequences could be. In the first referendum, people was not aware of the dire consequences. But if we have a second
referendum on remain or out, how do you think that would put us in
terms
of the EU?
It's better shame than disaster for another 10 to 15 years of this country's economy.
I don't believe in a second referendum.
Thank you. Okay, so what's your view?
No, well, the public have already spoken. We had our referendum in 2016, and in the interest of democracy, if we do believe in democracy, we adhere to the will of the people.
But that's your party position, isn't it?
It's a part, and it's
but do you believe that there should be a second referendum on the deal, so people can actually vote on the deal?
I've thought about this. If we were to have a second referendum on the deal, how would people actually vote? What would be thinking through their minds? Those who are Remainers, they will probably vote against the deal, thinking that no, we don't want to Brexit. We want to remain. So they'll be thinking of the second referendum as an in or out, regardless of the question that is asked. The question I'd like to ask Babul Bhai to get his opinion.
We only have a minute left.
Can I just say, why is it so undemocratic to have a second referendum? Every 5 years, we make a decision again. We elect a government. We may like it and confirm.
On what?
On remain or leave.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, we're not going to have a deal. Chequers deal is now, as Bashir Bhai says, blown out the water.
Party in power is saying they don't want
then why are we so embarrassed or ashamed to have? Because let the people decide again. It's been 3 years. Every 5 years we have an election. Sometimes we've had an election within 12 months.
So should we have a referendum every 3 years then?
Well, why not? If we need to decide
How many millions of pounds?
on a national issue, But we have elections every 3 years. We have elections every 5 years. You know, there was a time in the 70s that we had
Okay.
elections
But
within 12
but
months.
Article 50 does have provision for any member that's withdrawn to actually rejoin, and there is a process through Article.
And you think we're
Okay.
going to get a better deal
well,
to rejoin?
I think this discussion needs to continue. দর্শক আমাদের এই ইস্যুটি I'm sure this is not going to end in one program, and we should continue to have this debate. We should continue to have this kind of debate and bring information in front of our viewers so that we are in a better position to make an informed choice if we are faced with another referendum in future. আজকের মতন বিদায় নিচ্ছি। আগামী মঙ্গলবারের আলাপচারিতা দেখার অনুরোধ রইল। শুভরাত্রি, ভালো থাকুন সবাই।
Thank you very much.